So there's a lot to get to. Let's get to it. And it seems kind of focused, slanted focused on Israel and the conflict there, but I'm showing it to you from a Canadian perspective. So bear with me. And yesterday was my Thanksgiving day as well, so I didn't have a lot of time. I made pita in the morning, and then we went to Thanksgiving dinner, and then I went and played hockey, and it was good. It was a really fun day, but I didn't work very much. So there you go. That is what it is. Here we go. Let's get started. There's lots to get to. Let's get started. Pierre Poilievre, of course. And yesterday I called this. I said, Pierre Poilievre is the standard bearer for Harper's party. Harper was staunchly pro-Israel, we have to support the shining light of democracy in the Middle East and blah, 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 all this crap. Pierre Poilievre is following that trend. And he says, I unequivocally condemn the invasion of Israel by Hamas terrorists and the sadistic violence that they have subsequently carried out against innocent civilians. Israel has the right to defend itself against these attacks and respond against the attackers. Canadians pledge their solidarity with all the victims. Okay, I have a couple of things to say just about all of this. I don't think that there should be a blind eye turn. Innocent people should not be slaughtered by terrorists. That's not okay. All of that is not okay. I'm not on the side of the people committing atrocities, period. I just want to make that really clear, because people were saying, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. But there's modern parallels. So killing of people aside, etc. Military, but war is hell, right? War is not a good thing. These people have clearly gone to war, but there's something hinky about this, because this is one of the most surveilled border in the world. These people got in because somebody let them in, but that's later in the story, okay? I'm not on the side of the marauding hordes. However, there is an argument to be made that does the UN have the legal authority to grant an ethnic group land somewhere? Can they say, yeah, have that land, go ahead? And if they say that, and the native population that's there says, we don't agree with that, what kind of recourse does that native population have, and how long before that gets violent, right? You have 50 years of attempting to talk it out, 60 years, 70 years. They've been through wars. They've been through many wars. This is not new, and that was part of my point yesterday. It's not new. So let's talk about the UN's ability to give ethnic groups land somewhere that they deem, I don't know, land that nobody really wants, or land that's just, sitting around like Palestine was, right? The United Kingdom had control of Palestine, and they said, we're not going to control Palestine anymore. The UN, what do you think should happen? And then the UN said, how about we give it to these people and we'll call it Israel? And then they said, oh, okay, well, how about Israel splits it with the Palestinians who are there? Right. And I've read also that Arafat coined the term Palestinians to give these people a nationality because they didn't have one previously. But somebody controlled that land, right? If not, then I think that needs to be really clear. But I think that somebody controlled that land. The United Kingdom was controlling that land, and then they gave it up, and the United Nations gave it to Israel. But what if, go on this thought experiment with me, viewers. The United Nations said, okay, Palestine, we agree that you should have land somewhere. And we've decided that Saskatchewan's going to be it, or Alberta's going to be it. And you can have, I don't know, they take the picture of the map of Alberta, and they say, you can have this part of Alberta. That's yours now. That's New Khalistan, New Khalistani state, whatever you want to call it, Khalistan, that's for you guys. Go ahead. And then the Canadians go, no, I don't think so. And they say, well, nobody was really using that anyway. It's not like you had anything there. We just drew it on a map. It's fine, right? Here's your spot, and there's Edmonton, and there's Calgary, and all, there's your spot, and here's New Khalistan, right? No problems. Everybody's happy, right? Right? No, I don't think so. So why is that okay? And maybe I'm completely unaware of why that's okay. But to me, it seems like that's militarily taking something. That's looking at something and saying, yoink. I said yoink, right? That's not yours anymore, and it's ours. And what are we going to do with our asset? Well, we asked the UN, and the UN said we could give it to these people. So we did. Okay, what about the people who were there? So it seems like there's a lot of parallels. Again, and I've made this parallel yesterday, but what's different between the Russia militarily dominating Ukraine and Israel militarily dominating Palestine? And why is one necessary for democracy to be safe, and the other is a violation of democracy. We need to fight for democracy with Ukraine because any kind of infringement on Ukraine's ability to join NATO is bad. There's so many arguments, but fundamentally, what's different? Like, why is this one this way and the other one's the other way? What's the rationale? And somebody said, because Hamas's stated goal is to wipe Israel off the face of the map and off the face of the earth and so on and so forth. People have been genocidal before. Does that mean that they don't have a right to their homeland? Does that mean that they don't have a right? I mean, George Bush said that Hamas should organize and become a political party to be taken seriously. They organized and became a political party, and now they're being funded by, well, we'll get there later, but funded largely by Canada, United States, and Iran. And Iran is funded by Canada, the United States. So, and I'll show that to you. And so it seems really strange. On one side of things, we're saying we can't possibly do this, and on the other side of things, we're funding it, right? And it sits strange with me because it is in conflict with each other. Each position conflicts with the other. So, okay, back to Pierre Poilievre's position here. I unequivocally condemn the invasion of Israel by Hamas terrorists and the sadistic violence they have subsequently carried out against innocent civilians. Israel has the right to defend itself. Oh yeah, I already read this, so apologies for rereading it, but I forgot that the second part here. Nobody's saying that Israel doesn't have the right to defend itself. You can defend yourself, sure. I mean, we've gone this long. Like, defend yourself, fine. But the idea that Canada and the United States and everybody else should escalate this situation to come to Israel's aid, that we should get involved in this, is where I say no, because we shouldn't get involved in this. We shouldn't be funding it. We shouldn't be funding any of it. We shouldn't be playing this game at all. We should get out of sticking our nose where it doesn't belong, fundamentally. But here we are, sticking our nose where it doesn't belong. Senator Housakas is responding to Pierre Poilievre's tweet. He says, Hamas is a terrorist organization that continues to engage in violence against Israel. We stand unequivocally with Israel, defending our friend and ally. So everybody and his dog. Here's Stephen Harper, right? He says, last night, they're all getting on board with, we stand with Israel. Last night, as Canadians began to celebrate the Thanksgiving weekend, Israelis were attacked by the terrorist group Hamas. Today, as Canada wakes up to unspeakable images of terror, pain, and war, we must remain shoulder to shoulder with Israel as it responds to and defends itself from these criminal and cowardly acts of terror. See, it's stuff like that. Like, they can defend themselves, but it's not, I don't want Canadian dollars to go and for defense of this, because it feels like we're working against ourselves. So all of these, shoulder to shoulder with Israel as it responds to and defends itself from these criminal and cowardly acts of terror. To friends in Israel and around the world, I hope you know that today and always, through fire and water, Canada will stand with you. So I'm very hesitant. Again, like saying, don't worry, Haiti, we'll send military forces down there. I don't know enough to be supportive of that. And I don't speak the language from Israel. I don't speak Palestinian. I don't speak Arab. There's, any of the dialects. I don't speak it. I don't know enough to say, yes, we should definitely be funding this. Yes, we're on the right side of history here. We're on the side of humanity here. I can't be assured of that. And so because of that, I think we should butt out, for crying out loud. Marco says, who else is waiting for Ahmed Hassan? Okay, before we get into the down ticket tweets here, I want to show you the funding, and then we'll come back to the down ticket tweets, okay? The Wall Street Journal is saying Biden administration, this is from September 11th, 2023. Biden administration takes steps to free up $6 billion in Iranian funds in prisoner swap deal. So Trump could swap prisoner for prisoner. Biden has to give $6 billion with the prisoners. Funding Iran, and Iran funds Hamas and the terrorist act that was perpetrated in Israel yesterday. Lord of the Pepe says, connecting the dots, Biden sends $6 billion to Iran, who is in sync with Hamas in Gaza. Hillary makes mention of an interview of wagging the dog. We've talked about that before. Hamas attacks Israel with rockets, guns, slaughtering and capturing hundreds. Israel Iron Dome never went up. Why? Now Afghanistan is suffering earthquakes. I don't know about the earthquakes. Methinks it smells awfully like a precipice, right? Not until the precipice. Here is Canadian funding of Iran. Okay, so this is the Canadian International Development Platform, and the settings here is from 2018. You can see the 2018 is there. And the link is in the description if you want to check it out yourself. But Iran is funded to the tune of $2.5 million. So that's not much, but it's enough. Okay. And here is Jim Ferguson sharing this. Breaking news from Israel. Spokesperson of Izdun al-Qassam Brigade, and his name is Abdu Abawan, I guess, says, we thank the Islamic Republic of Iran, who provided us with weapons, money, and other equipment. He gave us missiles to destroy Zionist fortresses and helped us with standard anti-tank missiles. Iran providing weaponry to their proxies and enabling attack on Israel. And so this is all in non-English, so I'm not going to play it, but they're saying exactly what you'd expect in another language. Here is Buzz TV, and it says Hamas is claiming Ukraine sold them the weapons that they used in the attack against Israel. So we, being the West, send weapons in the form of packages to Ukraine. So when they say it's a $650 million package, that's, 10 Hellfire missiles or 10 Tomahawk missiles or something like that, whatever it is, however it works out. But it's, 100, we're sending 300 Humvees that they're going to use in music videos, like that kind of stuff. And that's a package of, so many millions, $40 million, $70 million, whatever it is. That's what we're sending. Okay. And so they've sent weapons. The weapons are then sold on the black market, bought with tax dollars sent by the US to fund this invasion into our partner, into an ally, right? You saw Harper and Polyev, everybody were staunch allies, right? Are we staunch allies? How are we, if we're staunch allies, why are we funding all of this, right? Here's CTV News reporting from October 12th, 2018. Canada gives $50 million to UN Palestinian Refugee Agency that the United States says is flawed. Do you remember this? When Trump cut off all funding to the Palestine agencies, accusing them of funding terror? And the U.S. and everybody else went crazy because he was hurting poor people and so on and so forth. And we're just helping poor people in war-torn Palestine. Again, I don't believe that narrative either. Nobody's going there and saying, I'm going to go to Palestine and send my kid to school. I hear the schools there are great. No, it's not happening. And I'm sure there are unfortunate souls that are maybe stuck there. But isn't that what international aid's for? Like, you're not going to run a school there? Come on. Get them out, get them somewhere that's going to be beneficial, resettle them in a country that's aligned with their culture, right, and language and all the rest of it. Regardless of all of that, I can't solve that problem right now. Nobody seems interested in solving that problem, and that to me sticks out. And they seem interested in funding the problem and then trotting it out when they want to. So the cheese in the middle of the maze is going to war against an enemy that is defined by whoever's running the false flag. And so they set it up. They set up the circumstances to put the cheese in the middle, and they say, okay, go. Right now that there's this false flag that's happened, you're going to run through the maze. You starved rat, run through the maze, and you're going to go to the cheese. And because this thing happened, a bad attack happened on a country that's an ally, and now we're running through the maze, and we're going to come to the conclusion that we've got to get rid of this enemy by any means necessary. Sure, war on terror sounds great, right? Like, it's a manipulative tactic. Anyway, back to the funding. Canada is contributing $50 million to the United Nations Palestinian Refugee Agency. I think it's interesting. Is that the name of the agency? The UNPRA? I don't think so. The next article actually names the agency. But anyway, regardless, after the United States decided to stop funding what it called an irredeemably flawed organization, the new Canadian funds announced today will be allocated over 2 years to assist the health and education efforts of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, or UNRWA. See, is this the UNRWA? At the top there? Why not reference that up there? Anyway, the Trump administration decided in August to withdraw $300 million in support, ending the United States' status as the largest donor for an organization that had been trying to help more than 5 million Palestinian refugees. Israel has accused the agency of being biased, fueling its conflict with Palestinians and promoting hatred against the Jewish state. Canada's foreign ministry says that new funds will help bring stability to the region by helping Palestinians cope with poverty, unemployment, and food insecurity. I hear the grocery stores and the food are great there. Let's go. The grocery stores and the schools are great. Let's go. I scroll down a little bit. Canada's earmarking $40 million towards the basic education, health, and livelihood needs of millions of Palestinian refugees, especially women and children. Another $10 million is aimed at helping 460,000 Palestinian refugees in Syria and Lebanon. The new Canadian funds come 2 weeks after the European Union pledged an extra $46 million to the UNRWA to support its health and educational services. International Development Minister Marie-Claude Bedeau said Canada's new contribution would improve the lives and protect the human dignity of millions of Palestinian refugees. I think we're being lied to fund a war in this little section. And I don't think anybody's helping refugees in the area. Here's Dr. Bianca, and somebody clipped this from CP24. They were reporting that Hamas and the Palestinian Authority got $351 million. Pakistan got $2 billion. Libya got $1.45 billion. Egypt, $397 million. But I don't know the date of this report, so apologies about this. But this is in response to Ezra Levant highlighting. Ezra says Hamas takes rape slaves. That's the terrorist group that Trudeau funds with $50 million of your taxes. That's who CUPE supports. Yeah, CUPE put out a tweet supporting Palestine and saying, free Palestine. And that's why I want to be unequivocal in saying, I do not support terrorists who attack and slaughter civilians who don't understand the war zone they entered, right? Because I don't think anybody understands it. I don't think anybody understands what happened there and what is ongoing there. Right. And we all just sleepwalk through it. Give me my Candy Crush, baby. Right. Like, I don't even like Candy Crush. Anyway, I don't know if it's 351 million or if it's 50 million, but either amount is far too much for what's happening. And we should know better. Why are we funding this crap? U.S. to restore aid. This was in April 7th, 2021. U.S. to restore aid to Palestinian Refugee Agency cut by Trump. This is UNRWA. And it says, in a statement on Wednesday, U.S. Secretary of State Blinken said the United States would provide $150 million in humanitarian assistance to the UN Relief Works Agency, UNRWA. UNRWA provides aid and other services, including healthcare and education, to about 5.7 million Palestinian refugees in the occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip, Lebanon, and Jordan, and the agency welcomed the U.S. announcement. Now, in the news media guidelines, you're not allowed to call Gaza occupied, because you're always supposed to be portraying Israel as the victim, right? I thought it was very interesting. I was like, wow, that's very interesting. Back to this. Blinken said the U.S. also plans to provide Palestinians with $75 million in economic and development assistance for the occupied West Bank and Gaza, as well as $10 million for peace-building programs through the U.S. Agency for International Development. Isn't that like a drone program where somebody just bombs places indiscriminately until they do what foreign policy for the U.S. wants? Back to this. His statement added that Washington would resume vital security assistance without going into further details. Vital security assistance for the West Bank? Well, it didn't work out. Holy smoke. Back to this. The Trump administration blocked nearly all aid to Palestinians after it severed ties with the Palestinian Authority in 2018. The move was widely seen as an attempt to force the Palestinians to negotiate with Israel on terms the Palestinian leadership branded as an effort to deny them a viable state. Yet when Biden pledged to reinstate the U.S. diplomatic relations with the PA and restore U.S. aid for Palestinians, his administration signaled its refusal to reverse some of Trump's most divisive policies in the conflict. So it's interesting. That interests me as well. Here's Viva Frei, and he says, my prediction is that in this attack on Israel, you will find weapons that were not only surrendered in Afghanistan, but also weapons that were given to Ukraine involved in the slaughter, and no one, not even the most intelligent pundit of pundits, will be able to piece together the mystery. And I forgot to show you this video here, but I'll show it to you now because it's perfect. This is Hamas claiming Ukraine sold them the weapons, just as Viva Frei said. And here's video of that exact thing happening with weapons in the guy's trunk, and he's examining them, and here we go.
Ага.
Ну, це так, для початку ми тобі показуємо. Ось його Джавелін, там ще два таких самих. Ну, це, розумієш, в тубусі це так. От, отам ось, бачиш, знизу того.
He gets it out and inspects it.
А там що?
So I don't exactly know which weapons I'm looking at here, but Kim.com says this is a Javelin, NLAW, and AT-4 launchers are for sale by Ukrainian arms dealers. Ukrainian generals and soldiers are underpaid and sell U.S. and UK weapons on the black market. Every wannabe terrorist can now destroy civilian aircraft and kill hundreds for just $20,000. So there you go. There's a whole bunch of weapons that are being used through Ukraine, that are being bought and paid for and sent to the Ukraine. And it's old weapons, right? But it'll still kill you. They'll absolutely still kill you, right? So it's a very interesting situation that we've created for ourselves by trying to be the moral high ground while simultaneously not understanding what the hell we're monkeying with, I think, personally. Here is back to everybody talking about Palestine and virtue signaling about Israel and so on and so forth. Marco says, who's waiting for Ahmed Hassan's condemnation of the vile attacks on Israel? And Khalid and Omar Al-Ghabra and so on and so on. And good question. Here's Elizabeth May and telling us who she works for. And spoiler alert, it's not the Canadian taxpayer. Here we go.
We take our marching orders, I do anyway, I shouldn't speak for everyone. I take my marching orders from the permanent representative of Palestine to Canada. We take our...
Right? Well, I mean, at least she didn't say the permanent representative of Palestine to Canada, Hamas representative, blah. Right? This is a whole bunch of different tweets. This person is pointing out Ahmed Hassan retweeted Justin Trudeau's statement. Justin Trudeau's statement is, Canada strongly condemns the terrorist attacks against Israel. These acts of violence are completely unacceptable. We stand with Israel and fully support its right to defend itself. Our thoughts are with everyone, blah, blah, blah. So people are using that to people who don't want to take their own, statement, are using Justin Trudeau's. Francois Philippe Champagne says, full support, full stop. There's one more I wanted to show you. Oh, Omar Al-Ghabra. He says, I'm following with deep anxiety what's happening in the Middle East, but apparently he tweeted this one, or he deleted this tweet. So that's all interesting. People are weighing in. Maxime Bernier says, some people have been asking my position on the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. It's simple. I don't want a single penny of Canadian taxpayer money to go to support either side of another foreign war that has nothing to do with us. Yep. I can't say I disagree. I forgot to like that one, but I did like that one. Maxime Bernier, again, he says, here are only a few of the headlines from the past week about violent conflicts and atrocities happening around the world. It's like every other week. It's like this every week, week after week. But nobody in Canada took sides and made statements about how horrific it was. And no talking head harassed me to tweet about them. I suspect these people have zero empathy and concern for human life, right? And he tags a whole bunch of Andrew Lawton, Joe Warmington, Rupa, Robin Urbeck, and more journalists who are kind of, trying to do the hair on fire thing. And we have to staunchly, we have to stand against this tyranny. We have tyranny in our own damn country because of Justin Trudeau, because of Chrystia Freeland. They were freezing bank accounts without court orders and all sorts of crap. And nobody said boo about it. And the press is terrified. And something horrific happens in Israel and all of a sudden we're supposed to forget? Nope. Here's some examples. Drone attack kills 80 and wounds 240 at a packed Syrian military graduation ceremony, officials say. See, that's terrible, right? I don't condone that either, right? There's nothing about violence of this sort that makes me think these people are politically correct and the other people are politically wrong. Good job. Nothing about it, right? And the same in Israel. Nothing about it makes me think these people are right and these people are wrong. Have we created the situation that have caused this? Yes, 100%. We absolutely did. And we're funding it, right? We did this, right? But that doesn't mean that the victims deserved it. That doesn't mean that I'm for one side or the other. I think that it's abhorrent that the West had a hand in this at all. And I think it's abhorrent that it's being used to, like a rat. Why do I keep saying Matt? Rat in a maze. That's why. To manipulate Canadians and the rest of the world into a conflict. I think that the cheese in the middle is the conflict, and they want us to just go there. And I'll show you that they're even pushing for it. There are people who are pushing for it. Now that they've shown us the terrorists that they are, we have to crush them, glass the Gaza Strip, basically, right? And again, I don't subscribe to that, but they're using it as an excuse to escalate the conflict, right? And so, who funded it? Who looked the other way to let them through? We'll get there. but I don't support any of these. I don't support this violence. I don't support violence as a solution to a problem, particularly a political problem. But unfortunately, it seems like voting your way out of a system that we've got is getting less and less likely. Here's another one: Malian meltdown as militants advance and UN withdraws. So should we go everywhere, guns ablazing, right? Like Team America, World Police, Team Canada, right? We've got a moose, and like that's it. Wab Kinew, the new premier of Manitoba, premier designate, of Manitoba. He says, this morning I spoke with members of the Jewish community in Manitoba to express my solidarity. I condemn the terrorist attacks against Israel, the targeting of civilians, and affirm Israel's right to self-defense. My hope is for a swift de-escalation of this conflict. And Huda Idris says, Wab, I was excited to see you win your election because your platform stood for justice for Indigenous people of this land. This take is A, unnecessary, and B, in conflict with your platform. You are an elected official or elected leader. Do better. And a whole bunch of people are upset at him because of his position on this, and the way he's coming out on this, because he talks about Indigenous First Nations people and in the way of they have a right to their land and so on and so forth. So it's interesting, right? Maddie says, Jews are indigenous to Israel. CNBC, you'd better police your employees. This is disgusting. I think that's interesting. Jews are indigenous to Israel? Somebody doesn't know history. There's a whole bunch of very interesting comments with regards to the responses to Wab Kinew, and a lot of them are not very happy. Here's Justin Trudeau's response to all of the things that are going on. He's posted this picture. Vivian says, this photo of Justin Trudeau was posted today on Instagram by his official photographer. Would he post this incomprehensibly tone-deaf, puerile crap on 9/11? No decency, no words. So trying to make a terrorist attack in Israel a 9/11 level event, and people won't question that very much. People will say, oh yeah, it was terrible. And I mean, maybe it is. People, I think 3,500 people plus, just over 3,600, something like that, died in 9/11. I think we're 900 wounded, I think a couple hundred dead. That's what I've heard, but I'm not sure. And not that, body count is the only measure, but it's interesting to try and, say, how dare the Canadian Prime Minister post this on Instagram? I think it's interesting. All of it's very interesting. Geopolitics and empire. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.